Can you think of anything worse than the mass grooming of young girls? Well, the establishment certainly can, being called racist. As you might know, Parliament voted against having a national inquiry into the grooming gangs. No MP from Labour, Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, or any of the independent Muslim MPs voted in favour of the inquiry. The topic drives the establishment mad, and they spend more time arguing about how it's racist rather than the actual grooming gangs themselves. Imagine hearing about the mass grooming of young girls around Great Britain and your first thought is to dismiss it, silence those who speak out against it, and suppress any meaningful action at all costs. It's crazy to me that MPs are more annoyed at Rupert Lowe's tone when addressing the grooming gangs than the actual grooming gangs themselves.
The mass rape of young white working class girls by gangs of Pakistani rapists is a rotting stain on our nation.
I feel disgusted by what the Honourable Gentleman has just said.
I don't know about you, but it genuinely baffles me how some people can hear about one of the worst things that has ever happened in Britain, and the thing that they get most annoyed about is that people are speaking out and demanding justice, just because it isn't seen as politically correct. I genuinely struggle to understand that mentality. In this video, I want to focus on the mentality and the psychology of the people who have turned a blind eye to the grooming gangs for the sake of political correctness. Because if you're a normal person, it's quite hard to understand how anyone could ever ignore something so serious and so tragic. Before I begin, please subscribe to my YouTube, and if you like what I do, please consider becoming a paid subscriber to my Substack for more content. On the surface level, you could probably guess the reason why this class of people, generally middle-class, university-educated leftists, the new elite as you may, are so quick to turn a blind eye to this stuff. For one, it politically goes against their agenda. After pushing the message that diversity is our strength and mass migration is beneficial for so long, you can understand why they wouldn't want to admit they're wrong. Also because they are partially to blame. Simply put, this wouldn't be happening without the mass immigration they have been advocating for. So it's easier for them to double down on their own ideology, ignore the evidence, and ignore the trends of mostly Pakistani Muslims targeting young white girls. And then they attack anyone who says otherwise. After all, wouldn't you feel awful if you were advocating for a policy that actually led to thousands of girls being raped and abused? It makes sense why they would want to deny it. Secondly, they don't have to face the truth. It's very doubtful that they have family or friends who are directly impacted by the issue of grooming. Chances are they live in a nice town, or at least a nice part of the town, where everyone they interact with are polite, middle-class professionals. And the minorities that they interact with have also integrated into British culture and are also working professionals. You don't really see the reality of the declining areas like Rochdale or Rotherham where the Muslim communities don't integrate with the native population. And they know that their daughter won't end up like the hundreds of thousands of working class girls who these grooming gangs have abused. They are completely disconnected. I think a key example of this is when the media was so keen to laugh at the working class man in 2011 who spoke to the press about the issue. And the media mocked him for saying Muslimic ray guns.
You've got Muslimic rape gangs nowadays. There's 15-year-olds getting raped and everything. It just can't happen.
When in reality, he was right. There are Muslim rape gangs. And just because he has a northern working class accent and he says it in a way that the establishment doesn't agree with, it doesn't get rid of the legitimacy in what he says. Another reason is that they don't have to face the truth, in the sense that they're not going to see any pushback from having their views. Realistically, the next decade will probably be a continuation of the mainstream media ignoring these issues, as they have been doing for the past few decades already. And it's not like the people who advocate against helping these girls are going to face any accountability. In fact, they're incentivized not to discuss it. To the left-wing elite, as Owen Jones has previously said, talking about Muslim men abusing white girls does sound like something from a BNP handbook.
About vulnerable white girls being targeted by British Pakistani grooming gangs. Now, that is the sort of thing you would have expected to read in BNP leaflets.
Chances are, if you're around the new elite class, bringing up the grooming gangs would make the people around you look down on you and outcast you as a far-right racist. And the inverse of that, you get brownie points from your fellow liberals for disavowing the far-right fascists who are spreading misinformation about the poor Muslim men. This is the basis of what Rob Henderson calls luxury beliefs, an idea or opinion that confers status on the upper class at very little cost while often inflicting costs on the lower class. Another idea that I kind of want to touch on briefly is the idea of group preference. You can see from this graph that conservatives have a stronger in-group preference and liberals have a stronger outer-group preference. So this means that conservatives prefer their own kind, whereas liberals prefer the outsider. As you know, working class people are generally more tied to their own community and have a stronger group preference. They're more economically dependent on their community, they feel rooted, and they generally distrust outsiders more. Meanwhile, the middle class is generally more individualist, less tied to their community, and more metropolitan. And again, they don't have to feel the consequences of their actions since they're voting for policies that won't impact them directly, like mass immigration. Understanding this disconnect is crucial to see why the system continues to fail these girls. I think this is such an important topic since these people have caused these girls to not receive justice. They have led to the continuation of the cycle of abuse. Yes, ultimately the blame should lie with the groomers who have committed the crime, but these people have enabled a system to ignore and blame the young girls that have been groomed. They should face consequences. Personally, I'm so fed up with these people claiming the moral high ground for literally being child abuse deniers. They're turning a blind eye to evil for the sake of political correctness, and that's not progress, it's betrayal. So that's my thoughts about the whole grooming gang situation. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.